My name is Peter. I am 71 years old. I've lived a life of work, sacrifice, and patience. I've known joy, I've known loss, and I've known betrayal, but nothing, absolutely nothing, cut me as deep as what my own daughter did to me. I tell you this story not just to unburden my heart, but because maybe in my words you'll see the fire of a man who refused to bow down when the world spat in his face. They thought I was weak because of my age. They thought old bones meant a soft heart and a powerless hand. But they forgot something. A man who's been through wars of life doesn't die quietly. He plans, he waits, and when the time comes, he strikes back. This is the story of how my daughter stole my house, handed it over to her husband's greedy family, and how I made sure every last one of them regretted it. I was born in a small town. My father was a factory worker, and my mother a homemaker. They didn't own much, but they taught me the value of hard work and the dignity of having something of your own. When I grew older, I worked day and night, first as a carpenter's apprentice, then as a foreman, and finally as an independent contractor. My hands built furniture, homes, and businesses. But the one thing I was most proud of building was my house. It wasn't grand, but it was strong. A 2-story brick house with a wide porch, a little garden in front, and a big oak tree shading the yard. I built that house with my own hands, laying the bricks, sanding the floors, painting the walls. Every corner held my sweat. Every wall echoed with memories. It was the house where my wife, Margaret, and I raised our only daughter, Emily. That house was my heart, my legacy, the one thing I wanted to pass on to her so she would never know the kind of struggle I had faced as a young man. But I never imagined she would throw that gift in my face. Emily was my treasure. From the day she was born, I loved her more than my own life. I worked extra shifts to send her to the best schools, saved every penny to pay for her college, and stood by her side when she said she wanted to marry a man named Daniel. Now, I'll admit, when I first met Daniel, I wasn't impressed. He was smooth-talking, always smiling, but there was something hollow behind his eyes. He liked to brag, liked to show off things he hadn't earned. He came from a family that didn't believe in hard work. They believed in taking shortcuts and living off others. But Emily loved him. And when she looked at me with those pleading eyes, I gave my blessing. A father wants to see his daughter happy, even if he has doubts. At first, things seemed fine. They had their own apartment, and Daniel worked in his uncle's business. But slowly, the cracks appeared. He borrowed money often. He made excuses. And soon, I realized he wasn't just lazy, he was manipulative. It all began one quiet evening. Emily and Daniel came to visit me. They sat me down in the living room, the very room where Emily had taken her first steps, and she said, "Dad, we've been thinking. The house is too big for you now. You're old. It would be better if you stayed in a smaller place, maybe a retirement home. This house could be put to better use. Daniel's parents need a place. They could move in here. We'll take care of everything." Her words hit me like a hammer. I looked at her, then at Daniel. He smirked, leaning back like a king waiting for his crown. And then he spoke words that he'll never forget. "It's theirs now. The house belongs to us." The rage in me burned so hot I thought my chest would burst. "What did you just say?" I asked. Daniel smirked again. "Come on, Peter. You're not going to live forever. Think of your daughter's future. Think of family. This house should be passed down, and Emily is already part of my family now. So, it's ours." Emily nodded. She didn't even meet my eyes. My own daughter. My flesh and blood. The girl I had raised with love, the girl I had sacrificed for, she was sitting there, ready to hand over the home I built to that leech and his family. I told them to get out of my house. Daniel laughed. Emily looked guilty for a moment, but she followed him out. I thought it was just a heated moment, that maybe she had come to her senses. But I was wrong. Within weeks, legal papers arrived. Emily had convinced me years ago, when my wife passed, that it was easier to put the house in her name, just in case something happened. I trusted her. I thought it was just a formality. I never imagined she would use that trust to betray me. The papers said the house had been transferred to her and, by extension, her husband's family. I was told to leave. 71 years old. Homeless. Betrayed by my only child. I wish I could tell you I stood strong, but I didn't. For weeks, I wandered. I stayed in a shabby rented room. I stared at the walls and asked myself over and over, how could she do this to me? Neighbors whispered. Old friends shook their heads. Some offered pity, some offered anger, but pity doesn't keep you warm at night. I had nothing except my rage. That rage kept me alive. And slowly, it turned into something sharper. Something colder. Daniel and his family thought I was finished. They moved into my house, throwing parties, painting the walls, tearing down the garden I loved. They strutted around the neighborhood like kings. But I wasn't gone. I started small. I visited old contacts, lawyers, bankers, former coworkers. Over my life, I had done good for many people, and some of them still remembered. I learned everything about Daniel's family, their debts, their shady dealings, their unpaid taxes. I gathered papers, receipts, records. I spent months building a case. And then, I struck. First, I went to the authorities with evidence of Daniel's business practices. His uncle's company had been laundering money, and Daniel was tied directly to it. Investigators swooped in. His job vanished overnight. Then, I contacted the bank. I still had proof that I had paid for the house, every bill, every mortgage slip, every repair. Though the title was in Emily's name, I proved it had been acquired through my earnings alone. With the legal team I hired, we fought in court. It was long, it was bitter, but finally, the judge ruled that the transfer of ownership had been fraudulent. The house was mine again. But I didn't stop there. Daniel's family had grown comfortable in my home, acting like royalty. So, when the eviction notice came, I made sure the entire neighborhood was there to see it. I stood tall on the porch as the sheriff arrived. Daniel shouted, cursed, threatened. His mother wailed. His father begged. Emily stood pale, silent, her head bowed. And old man Peter, looked him in the eye and said, "You wanted my house? You thought it was yours? No. This house was built with my hands, my sweat, my life. And now you can get out." The crowd watched as they carried their belongings out, piece by piece, humiliated. Daniel spit on the ground as he left. Emily cried. But I felt nothing. They had chosen their path. Emily tried to contact me later, begging for forgiveness. She said Daniel had pressured her, that she didn't mean for things to go so far. But I told her, "Emily, love is no excuse for betrayal. I gave you everything. And you sold me out for him. You lost me the day you handed him my house." She wept. But I closed the door. Daniel and his family fell apart after that. With debts and no home, they moved away in disgrace. I heard rumors that Daniel eventually left Emily too. As for me, I stayed in my house. I repaired the garden. I painted the walls again. The oak tree still stands tall, and so do I. And when I sit on the porch, I don't feel bitterness anymore. I feel strength. Because I proved something. They thought an old man could be broken. But old men carry more fire than anyone realizes. And when you take from us what we've built, we will take everything back. This was not just revenge. It was justice. My name is Peter. My daughter took my house and gave it to her husband's family. He said, "It's theirs now." But in the end, it wasn't. It never was. And it never will be. This house is mine. My legacy. My revenge.